And welcome back. You know, taking care of yourself can be hard enough with life's daily stresses, but what does it look like when you've lost a loved one? You know, those going through the grief process may find it even more difficult to practice self-care. Jaymin, she's a bereavement manager at Faith Hospice, joins us this morning to discuss the issue. Good morning, Janet. How are you?
Good morning. How are you? I'm doing well. Thank you.
Great. Now, let's just start with the basics. How can someone, anyone really, just reduce their overall stress? And then how do they do that while they're grieving?
Right. Well, I do want to point out that self-care is an act, and it promotes our social, spiritual, physical, and emotional health. So good self-care actually leads to positive outcomes. And when you experience the loss of a loved one, moving through that grieving process can be very challenging because it's a journey that's often frightening, painful, and extremely lonely. So self-care actually becomes essential to our healing.
Yeah, I think anyone who's gone through this understands exactly what you're saying. You know, I remember when I lost my father, and thoughts of taking care of myself just weren't even in my head because it's like your mind space goes somewhere else. So what are some simple self-care options that are accessible? What's out there for us?
Yes, so I'm going to give you two,
Okay.
okay? One is you want to keep decision making to a minimum. There's a phrase out there that says, don't make any big decisions for the first year after a loved one dies. That is not a myth, okay? That's a rule. And it's a rule for a reason, because the death of a loved one is for sure one of the most stressful events that you will experience during a lifetime. And we're just not always making the best decisions. And then number two is you want to keep expectations realistic. Your grief will not be over in 1 or 2 weeks. If that is your expectation, you're really setting yourself up for great disappointment, which will then lead to feelings of hopelessness.
Okay, managing the expectations, not making any big decisions for at least a year. So what about spirituality? What does that look like?
Yeah, so, I always encourage people to take a refuge in their religious practices. So if you are a regular church goer, attending services may really help you deal with your grief. But in addition, there's private prayer, meditation, listening to religious music, and these are all other ways to help cope with the spiritual aspects of grief.
What does it look like, though, maybe someone like us, or what you guys do for someone who is, what does good support look like for somebody who's grieving?
Yeah, okay. Well, this is really important. You need a safe person, okay? What's a safe person? A safe person is a trusted person that you can share your thoughts and feelings with. And they're someone that will listen to you as opposed to want to fix you, okay? You do not need to be fixed. This safe person, will sit in the presence of your pain, okay? And they can help ease some of those intense grief feelings that you're having. The other thing is you can try to participate in some type of social activity. So it could be as simple as having lunch with a friend. And 3, join a grief support group. They are so helpful. The other thing you can do is contact a professional grief counselor. Sometimes they are just a voice of reason. And then the last suggestion is I just want to say grief is really hard. And I just encourage people to allow grace for themselves.
You know, Faith Hospice obviously has bereavement services offered. How would someone access those?
So you can go to our website at faithhospicecare.org. Or you can call the Faith Hospice Bereavement Department directly at 616-235-5122.
And obviously, this day and age, we just recently were speaking about this podcast. Tell us a little bit about that quickly.
Well, that's something that's really new and exciting. So we're totally excited about that. And people will be able, I think they'll be able to go to our website and access that as well.
Okay. I cannot wait to hear it, and I can't wait to learn more. And if you want to learn more about topics relevant to hospice care and bereavement, just as Janet was saying, this podcast, This Day and Age, one you really want to do. Just recently launched by Faith Hospice. It brings together experts in aging to help you navigate life's journey. You can learn more about that at thisdayandage.org. And of course, you can get more information at faithhospicecare.org as well. We'll be right back.